99% of the testosterone boosting advice you see online can be summarized to get a good sleep, get a good diet, and take some vitamin D. Those things are amazing, don't get me wrong, right? They will have a beneficial effect on your testosterone levels. But still, I personally did not feel high testosterone when I did those things. I had my sleep dialed in, I had my diet dialed in, my stress was pretty low, and still, I did not feel the high drive, high libido, the competitive drive that all of those people say that you're gonna feel when you're gonna have high testosterone. But there was one state and one environment which when I was in, I actually start to feel these high testosterone symptoms. My energy was pretty high, my libido was through the roof, my competitive drive was crazy, like I genuinely wanted to increase my status, I wanted to literally improve myself. And the one state can be simplified to just social environment, specifically an environment where I have girls that I'm attracted to and men that I want to compete with, men that I see and perceive as status threat. And obviously some people are gonna say, oh, where is the studies about this one? Like, no, there is no specific studies that can prove you that this is the one thing that's gonna cause you to have high testosterone. There are studies that show that being around attractive women is gonna increase testosterone and that competition increases testosterone, but there is no direct study that somehow proves that there is a certain environment that is gonna cause you to have high T. But the problem with over relying on science is that it's actually very flawed when you look at it. And not flawed in a way that you shouldn't listen to science and you shouldn't trust those studies, but when you actually look at how to make those studies worth listening to, it's super fucking hard. Like, imagine how many things you have to control over personalized individual to conclude that the results of the studies are because of the things that you tested, right? Like, try to actually make a study about how competitive and social environment is the thing that is gonna make you high testosterone. It is literally fucking impossible. But what is possible is get anecdotal experience and actually look at the animal world as well. Testosterone, as every other hormone, is demand driven, meaning your body will produce it depending in if you need it, right? Because growth hormone, right? The reason you produce growth hormone is for recovery, for height growth, for certain metabolic effects. Your body produces it depending on if it needs it. Same thing with cortisol. Cortisol is actually also derived from the same precursor as testosterone, meaning cortisol also is derived from cholesterol. And the thing is, you do not need to eat cholesterol to increase your cortisol. We all perfectly know what you need to do if you want to increase your cortisol. You go into unstable and dangerous environment in war countries, in fucking work and jobs that stress you the fuck out. You know what makes you stressed. But when it comes to testosterone, suddenly it's all about what you eat or how much you sleep, which has an immense impact on your overall testosterone in the long term because those how much competition you're gonna have. If your sleep and diet isn't gonna be dialed in the end you're gonna nuke your testosterone levels. But those things do not make you high testosterone, those things just keep you healthy enough to have high testosterone, if that makes sense. So when you look at what demand is testosterone for, it is just reproduction. Like all testosterone is to make you reproduce. And for many animals as well as humans, for males specifically, reproduction was heavily depending on your social status and place on in the social hierarchy. Because if you were low status, obviously you didn't have that much resource, you weren't as capable. And why would women pick you evolutionary? You were a threat to their offspring because you wouldn't protect them, you wouldn't provide for them. So obviously they're not gonna choose the low status man, even if he was handsome as fuck, right? Just evolutionary, natural selection does not work that way. So because the high status men were specifically chosen or even chose for themselves, because think about it, being high status animal, you would most likely have to have high capacity to violence because violence is the core of natural selection in the big picture. So if you were more capable of violence, you could just kill the other rival men and then rape the woman. Like, yeah, as brutal and as immoral as it sounds, we're a fucking animal. We do not care about what's good and bad. We only care about our survival, right? So that's the thing. So we know that testosterone is made for reproduction, and reproduction for men specifically, it was heavily depending on your social status. So, as conclusion, we can understand that if you want high testosterone, you have to be in a competitive environment when there is a social hierarchy. You don't be in those like laffy taffy fucking corporation high estrogen games and environments. You have to be in an environment when there is hot bitches that you want to fuck, and maybe you aren't even worth to fuck them, right? Like that's what happens at first. No animal is just like born alpha. Even fucking if you're descended from an alpha, you have to climb the social hierarchy. If you're a young male, you don't have that much value. So what you have to understand is you just need to put yourself into an environment where there is hot bitches that you want to fuck and there is men that you have to compete with. And that gives you basically the third pillar on how to have high testosterone, right? There is sleep and diet because you have to have the time where you produce testosterone because no sleep, you're basically not gonna produce testosterone. And no diet, you're not gonna have the raw materials that you need to produce testosterone. But then the competitive and social environment is the environment that will plant the seed, is the environment that will signal your brain we need fucking testosterone. And that's it. That's everything I needed to do to literally feel high testosterone. And obviously, high testosterone is pretty hard to maintain. And I would argue my testosterone genetics aren't in the top echelon. So I will need to put more effort than other people to actually have high testosterone. But in the end of the day, you need to deal with the genetics you have given, right? So get your sleep in, get your diet in, and get into competitive environment. And one important key, right? Do not forget this. The competitive environment needs to be something that you actually value in terms of status. Like if you're gonna go into fighting competition and you don't give a single fuck about fighting and nobody in your environment give a single fuck about fighting, then it's not gonna touch your testosterone because that's just a random competition. Your brain does not associate it with status. So you have to go in things and you have to improve yourself in a way and in things that your brain and your environment actually perceives as valuable.